Welcome to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary, and an amazing podcast dedicated to ordinary people like you and I that have done extraordinary things in our life. I want this to be a human celebration of the human struggle in this journey called life through its up and down and twist and turn. May their life stories inspire you to reach your greatness and to reach your full potential. It is going to be a lot of fun, lighthearted, and raw in all its form. We will cover topics such as love, depression, divorce, parenting, woman in business, anxiety, addiction, self-love, forgiveness, and so many more. I am super thrilled and honored to have you here. My name is Ridon. May you have a great listening. Welcome back, everybody, to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. And for those who are just tuning in, welcome with us. You are super privileged to be here with us today because I have a fabulous man with me. I've been so excited for this interview for the last couple of days. I have Jim Rhoades that's with me today. And so welcome, Jim, on my podcast. Thank you for taking the time to be with me.
Well, it is my privilege. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Jim. He's so many things, but he has a wide range of expertise and career. He's really fascinated with regards to health and wellness and nutrition, but he has a lot of background and certification in like hypnotherapy, reflexology, lymphology. Am I saying that correctly?
Lymphology,
Yeah.
Close.
Yes.
It's a big word.
That's a big word. And the last one I'm going to attempt at this one is iridology.
Iridology. Yeah.
Iridology.
The study of the eyes, the study of the lymph system, hypnotherapy, obviously, the study of the brain, yes. All those good things that make us
all of the body
work. Yes. It's a fascinating thing. You can get caught up in any one of them and spend your whole life and never get to the bottom. It's just that incredible.
And you radiate so much of that love for that. So can you maybe tell us a little bit how you got into being so passionate about all of these different topics, learning about the body and so on and so forth?
Yes. As the title of our, if life hands you a lemon, do we know how to make lemonade? In other words, it's where we put the emphasis on the syllable.
Mm-hmm.
The emphasis on the syllable is totally where it's going to come out.
Right.
Because if you think you can, guess what? You can. If you think you can't, guess what? You're right again. and I had an angel mom, very seriously, who had some serious health challenges when I was little. So I was around and kind of was her second in command of my younger brothers and siblings because she couldn't physically get up or she was at the hospital. And on the good days, oh, did she appreciate those good days? I mean, she was into our lives so much. And then at a very young age myself, I obviously inherited some of her gene pool. Yeah. Because I also experienced something at the age of 11 that shocked, scared me. I thought I was dying. I had never experienced a low blood sugar or a hypoglycemic attack.
Yeah.
I was actually an athlete and I could go and love and just enjoy life as young kids do, especially near a great park and across the street from an awesome elementary school. It had, everything in the playground you can imagine, from a basketball court to a small little gymnasium. Yeah. All those things I loved. And then here I am sitting in class, having set myself up with a pancake breakfast with lots of syrup, skipped lunch, about 2 p.m. Suddenly, a sensation I'd never felt. The walls started closing in on me, and my peripheral vision started disappearing, and it felt like I was looking through little binoculars, and I'm going, what's wrong with my eyes? And then I'm feeling clammy all over. I'm shaky, and I can't think straight. But I get this sensation in the pit of my stomach. I've got to eat something. I've got to eat or perish. I actually thought if I don't eat in the next few seconds, I'll just die. Because I had never felt this before.
Yeah.
So I got up, made an excuse to go to the bathroom. Of course, passed the bathroom, ran out the hall. I was lucky. I lived just a block or so from the school. And so ran into my front door, and my mom wasn't home. Found myself in the kitchen in the cupboard, stuffing graham crackers in my mouth as fast as I could, chew and swallow. Got a glass of milk to wash them down, and chew and swallow. And then I felt the room just start spinning. And I made it to the couch where I fainted. I just fainted out. The next thing I realized is my mom was patting my cheek saying, "What's wrong? Why are you home from school?" And I blinked awake and went, "Oh, Mom, I'm home from school because I think I almost died today." And she goes, "What? That's not like you." And I said, "No." And as I described the symptoms of what I'd gone through, she goes, "Oh, honey, I was hoping my gene pool would pass you by. You see, she was both diabetic and hypoglycemic, low blood sugar, high blood sugar." And back in those years, and that was, 1959, 1958, somewhere in that range. Diabetics had a problem. They had to go in and find a laboratory to find out what their blood sugar was. There wasn't a way to check it at home. You couldn't prick your finger. You just felt it coming on and and maybe in need of insulin, a shot. So the doctors literally for months kept her in the hospital next to a lab so they could see, because her blood sugar would swing from one end to the other. If they gave her insulin at the wrong time, they put her in a faint out from the low blood sugar. And if they gave it not at the right time, she'd go into a diabetic coma. So all of that. And so a week later, my mom takes me into that laboratory at the hospital and says, "Glucose tolerance test, it's your turn." Of course, they fed me a quart of lemon with a lot of sugar in it, a big lemonade, and drank it down, and then just pricked my finger every 30 minutes. And I'm merrily sitting there going through it. And then all of a sudden that same sensation, where did my vision go? I'm getting shaky. "Give me some food, please." And I'm begging them. And they says, "Oh, just hang on 30 more minutes. Come on, you can do this." And finally, when I fainted out, they said, "Okay, grape juice, give it to him quick." Something. My eyes pop back open and they go, "Okay, we've got the results we needed." And so now the discussion with the doctor, and the doc confirmed he's severe hypoglycemic and probably going to be a diabetic before he's out of his teens. So we walked out of the hospital. And as we went to drive out of the parking lot, my mom pulled over and said, "Hey, I was really hoping this passed you by, but I've learned a lot. I'm still alive in spite of the fact that I've gone both directions but I can help you avoid the worst of the two, which is if you'll just follow some simple rules that you and I have to live by from now on, you won't have to be in the hospital as often as me." And I said, "Okay, I don't want to ever feel this way ever again. So tell me what they are." She says, "Okay, they're just some simple rules." And she introduced to me what we now call the glycemic index, which is what foods cause your blood sugar to go sky high quickly. And she says there are certain foods that you and I can't eat because they're poison to you and I. Of course, those are the straight processed carbohydrates. Then there's this middle range. We can have them in small amounts occasionally. Then there's this low one. Oh man, we can have all we want. I go, "Well, great. Well, what are the ones I can't have?" "I sure don't want to eat poison." Well, I wished I had never asked her because what she named next was all my favorite foods. Of course, it started off with things like potato chips, French fries, pizza, white bread, soda pop, candy, ice cream, and she went down the list. I'm going, Oh, Mom, I think I'd rather die. This doesn't make sense. I can't eat that. She says, no, that's poison. Will you make a promise? And she says, there are two other things. That if we will watch what we eat and we'll stick with that low one, that'll be a big benefit. Second of all, for you and I, exercise is not just if we want to, it's a must do. At least 5 days every week, we've got to exercise 30 minutes or more. I says, well, I'm all for that. That was my favorite thing to do. In fact, let's make it an hour. And I did. And that's been a major savior for me. And then third, she said, I've noticed when I'm under stress, I have episodes happen. It triggers those episodes way faster, more often. And so I've discovered a few things that help me with that. One I'll teach you right now. It says, from now on, you're going to take a pencil and a piece of paper and put it on your nightstand. This is okay. And when you go jump in bed, I want you to take the paper and the pencil and write down all the things that you've been thinking about that you've got to do tomorrow that you might be rehearsing over and over. And just put them on the piece of paper and say, there you are. I'm not going to forget you. You're there. Now I can relax and go to sleep. And then hop in bed and go to sleep. And then last but not least, you need good sleep. You need at least 8 hours sleep every night, because I notice when I get tired, my stress goes up. When the stress goes up, it triggers everything else. And I go, oh, I like going to bed and I like sleeping. Well, I don't like going to bed, but I do like sleeping in. So that was an easy one. But just those few rules. And here I am, having just had my 74th birthday.
Yay.
Yes. And the best part of all, and having studied this a lot, obviously, in my health journey, I do not have type 2 diabetes like my younger siblings do, because they did not get the same chance for this talk with my mom. And so their choices, their choices were different. So their patterns and their habits were different when it came to food. And if anybody understands what A1C means, which is your blood sugar average over a 3-month period, when it's in the fives, you're not diabetic, and mine's 5.4, and it's never raised higher than that. So those few little things that she taught me, but at the same time, it got me, this is what I believe. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but I think our Creator gives us weaknesses, so we'll be sufficiently humble to ask for help to turn those weaknesses into our strengths. And that's actually what this did. And, talking about weaknesses and not realizing even that you had one until you're my age, or not quite this old. But I have never shared this part of my learning journey with in the public, especially on a call that other people would listen to. But I had an extremely hard time learning how to read, and a much harder time of learning how to spell. Okay. They call it dyslexia. However, I had never heard the term. I had no idea. I did not know it ran in our family somewhat, which is very apparent if I go back a couple of grandfathers ago and reading their journals and seeing how they wrote. Dyslexia is not at all what most people think. And having studied it and become more of an expert, because I discovered I've got it, that weakness has probably brought out one of my greatest strengths. I'll just tell you how bad it was. I was an exchange student when I was in high school, got to live in Mexico and enjoy and learn a second language, go to school there for a while. And then we sponsored a person from Mexico to live with us my first year of college. And he came with very little English. My Spanish was better than his English, if that helped. So most of our communication, but he enrolled in college with me. And we were in the same English class, taking the same thing. And we were given an assignment to write an essay, which was pretty, standard back then.
Yeah.
And then diagram our sentences and so forth. I could do all the diagramming, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize that when I sat down to write anything, every third word I'd ask my mom how to spell that next word, which were just pretty common words.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom turned to me and said, how come Alvaro, who was our exchange student and lived with me,
mm-hmm.
can spell better than you
mm-hmm.
when you can read?
Mm-hmm.
And he's having a hard time reading, but his spelling is much better than you. I recall we had a pop test, a 2-hour write out your goals. What the, if you could write your own destiny, what would be your goal that you would end up 20 years from now?
Yeah.
Who would you be and what would you be doing? Okay,
Right.
well, I wanted to be an airplane pilot and I was
Right.
going in the Air Force and all those things. And man, I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I had 3-4 pages done by the time it was time to turn it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an A over an F.
Okay.
The A was for content, wonderful content.
Mm-hmm.
An F was, and the comment was, do you realize you spelled the same word 3 different ways on the same page?
Mm.
And I went, I did. I can look at all 3 of them. They all 3 look correct to me.
Mm.
I discovered this awesome thing.
Yeah.
A person who is dyslexic hears words, hears sounds different than a person because it goes to a different part of my brain and processes it different than the way that everybody else, And this was a humbling thing. In 3rd grade, you're asked to pick up your reader and go around the table and each one take a moment and read the next page.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a 3rd grade reader.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my turn to read and I'm stumbling over words and sit down and the little girl across from me says, you can't read that? And I says, no. And she says, well, then you must be dumb. Oh my.
Okay.
Well, when you're Pierce, okay, from then on, I had an excuse of why I couldn't read.
Mm.
However, I was still given a challenge to read. And what it did was get me to be able to read faster than anybody else out loud so that I could scan for words I may not know and slowly sound them out before I even got to them while I was back here reading back here. And then in the 12th grade is really where it showed up. I took a speed reading course.
Yeah.
We all came in an average of about 200 to 300 words per minute in the whole class. By the end of the class, however, at the end of the course, there was only one person who could read 1,000 words a minute with 95% comprehension, passed the test at the end, that they got that much out of what they read at that speed. And that was me. The next closest to me was 700. And I always wonder, I struggled so much with reading. How in the world can I read this fast and comprehend it? It was because when I was asked to read orally, I would be reading the whole sentence as fast as I could, get to the word that was hard for me to, I don't know that, try to figure it out from context, the first letter and last letter, what would the word maybe be in that context, translate it and get there and look like I could actually read all of the words. But that habit has served me because I go through a lot of books.
Yes.
And one of the things was also it helped with my comprehension because my brain translates things a little bit different, which means I have to simplify it and understand what the heck it is, the whole context of that sentence, or else I got to go back and reread that sentence. If it didn't make sense to me, I don't go to the next sentence. And that was an old habit too. So all of those, stumbling blocks that could have stopped me from wanting to be a teacher and teach in high school and college and even be an invited guest to Harvard and speak on a very important topic of, the nutrition in our foods today and why supplementation is important. None of those things would have come about had I not had a few challenges at the front end and chose to, as my mom showed me, hey, watch what you can do with this.
I love it.
You can become even better than the rest if you want. You just got to practice more.
And it's such a good message, Jim, because there's so many things in there of what you said. I'm trying to memorize all of them, but that's a good example. Like we'll start off with dyslexia because there are a lot of students, a lot of young children that suffer from dyslexia. Like I know genetically that I have a little bit of it, and my ex-husband has dyslexia. So my kid has a little form, like especially my son has a little form of dyslexia because he would spell and write letters and words backward. They would all be there. They would just not be at the right place.
Yeah. This is how my brain works. Just from an inside scoop. Yep. I can read very messages that are coded if the first of the word and the last of the word have the right letters. Okay. It doesn't matter how the center goes. Right. The first and last in the context as I read, I can read at a standard speed, even though 90% of it is jumbled in the words, where a person who sounds out and uses that terminology of how they read a word is from sounding, they will slow down on each one and try to translate what that word means. And to my eyes and my brain, it's just, and it doesn't matter where the center goes to my brain. And that sounds crazy, I know. Unless you have it, it doesn't make any sense to the person who is a scholar. But I also have my favorite phrase now. You know, if life only taught you how to spell a word one way, I feel very sorry for you. You ought to be able to spell it in many ways. It's like language. Yep. You discover, like in Spanish, oh gosh, this was one of the biggest ahas of my life. Yes. Living in Mexico, where they had no paved streets, all dirt streets, in a humble city with the most beautiful people on earth, humble and good and loving and caring about their families and working their heads off to support them. When I got back to the States, where you could get on a bus, where you could walk up to a drinking fountain, get a drink, where you had electricity all night long and all day long, and you had water that worked more than 1 hour a day, and things that I had never experienced at 15 prior to this. Oh, was I, that word grateful became a big word in my vocabulary again. And if you look at the world with gratitude, it gives you so many things to be grateful for.
Jim, you're just a source of inspiration. You truly are. There's just this amazing humbleness in who you are as an individual, but also I don't know how you say that, but to have this kind of like grounded humbleness of being a student of life.
Yes.
You know so much, and yet at the same time, you're saying to the universe, I'm always eager and open to learn more. Let me be a student to so much more. Because I know in your bag, you have so many tricks and so many wisdom, so much stuff, because talking to you for just a very few minutes, I get so many powerful lessons out of life, things that I can avoid of. And I wanted to mention to people that, like Jim said, don't let your weakness be the things that prevent you from excelling, because that is your source of inspiration. That is where your power lies. If you're able to turn it, I always say, and that's why for today, lemon, if life was to hand you a lemon, would you be able to turn it into a lemonade? And that holds true in every aspect of life. So look at Jim, he could have been diabetic, but for many, many years, he took all of the action that are not easy to do, like staying disciplined with all of the poison food that you cannot eat. At 11 years old, I'd be like, Mom, I can't do this.
I got to share that with you because, and at the time I agreed with my mom at 11.
Yes.
It was an easy agreement because I wasn't presented with something I wanted to eat right that minute.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very shortly thereafter I turned 12.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my 12th birthday. This is a big deal for me. All my best friends, of course, and after the games and the presents, now come out the cake and ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom puts my plate in front of me, and everybody else has cake and ice cream. And I have a plate full of veggies. And I'm going, oh, my mom's just being cute. She's saving the big piece of cake and the biggest part of the ice cream for after they go home. That's fine. Mm-hmm. So I pretended to enjoy my veggies while everybody else is eating my favorite kind of chocolate German cake. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they were gone, I was glad they were gone because now I'm in the fridge looking for the ice cream because that's only my favorite. And I can't find any. And I'm going, okay, it must be in the outside freezer. Yeah. And I'm looking for the cake. And I said, Mom, where did you put the cake? Where's my piece? And is the ice cream out in the freezer? And she goes, oh, honey, there's no ice cream left and there's no cake left. And I went, where's mine? And she says, remember our deal? We don't eat those things because they are not good for us. Mm-hmm. I said, but Mom, it's my birthday. It's my birthday. Mm-hmm. And she says, hon, I love you enough even on your birthday not to let you hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I said a very mean thing, probably the meanest thing I remember ever saying to my mom. Mm-hmm. You are the meanest mom on the earth. I want my cake and my ice cream. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered by seeing my friends, my family with diabetes, I am so grateful for a mom that helped me toe the line young, get that into my lifestyle so that I could walk past the cake and the ice cream so many times. Not that I haven't eaten each, but so little, and that was enough that I did not end up. I mean, when you see your own sister, little sister, who's 12 years younger than me, losing her eyesight, and looking at her kidneys are shutting down, and the neuropathy is set in, and all the crazy things of giving herself a shot every single day, and sometimes twice. You go, oh, Heavenly Father, thank you. I have a goal to live to 97. I want to go just like that, shot by a jealous husband because I winked at his wife. No, that was a joke. I don't want to be shot by a jealous husband. Anyway, life is so good and so sweet for me on a daily basis. I have 8 beautiful children. I think I forgot to mention that. And my wife did all the work and I take all the credit. And the neat thing about these 8 kids, they're all boys.
Okay. Wow.
Except for the 5 girls.
Okay.
So now I've got 22 grandkids. And the miracle is 20 of the 22 live within probably 2 to 5 miles from my front door.
Wow.
So I have a sand mountain just out in back of my house, and I have a whole bunch of 4-wheelers. And there's only one rule. If Grandpa invites you to jump on the 4-wheeler and go riding, just don't beat him to the top of the hill, or he won't invite you back tomorrow. I didn't know they knew that rule, but I see him pass it down to each of the rest. But yeah, my grandkids are spectacular. But my 8 kids, this is what I'm probably the most grateful for. I was very, very wise when I chose my companion, my wife. Of 52 years now.
Wow.
I married up big time.
Yeah.
Beautiful, vivacious, smart. Oh my gosh, she's got the genius side. All of my 8 kids inherited that from her. And they were also taught so well that they've all grown up to be my best friends. And now, knowing how to be my best friends, they're helping my grandchildren be even better.
Because they're all surrounded by the
Oh,
people.
I am, and they are,
Yeah.
and we're in each other's lives. And if you want, I'll call them in here because they're, like I
Yeah.
mentioned, I was playing with two of the younger
Yeah.
ones, thinking the call was later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am very,
What
very
is
blessed.
your ingredient in picking, like, because that's a really, we had that discussion, and I think that's what I live by, is choosing the partner, the right partner really has a trigger effect in many aspects of our life. And you were a smart man to know that ahead of time in choosing your wife. So going into that, for some people who are inexperienced or younger, what would you say to them in terms of like, how do they go about in looking for a partner? I mean, each person's are different. We have different
Right.
needs, but there is a fundamental correlation among partners, you know? So
Yes,
what was it in your case?
it was a big thought process and a lot of time in meditation and on my knees, because I truly want a companion for eternity. I
Yeah.
mean, I want to marry my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, when we're together,
Yeah.
feel bad when I have to say goodbye for a while and go to work. I
Mm-hmm.
want to get back and just listen and sit
Mm-hmm.
at their ideas and have them hear mine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and be the mutual admiration society for each other,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
literally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so fortunate to marry a yeah. Here I am, 6'3", and she's 5'2".
That's a huge gap in that
Yes,
there.
I can put my elbow on her head and walk beside her, but I don't. But if there's wind beneath my wings, it's her,
Mm.
and she's in the limelight. And I will tell you two truths:
Mm-hmm.
behind every successful man, there is an incredible wife
Mm-hmm.
and a astonished mother-in-law.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And,
It's true.
yeah, and number one, I saw her mom and dad, got to know them well. That helped,
Mm-hmm.
because she's going to have a lot of the traits. If you know anything about the law of proximity, unusual word, proximity,
Mm-hmm.
the people you hang with and are with, the top five that you're with the most,
Mm-hmm.
is very much going to be your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You'll wear the same kind of clothes. You'll have a very similar home. You'll have very similar income.
Mm-hmm.
I learned early on that if you want to become wealthy, you
Yeah.
hang around wealthy people.
Yep.
If you want to be healthy, you hang around those kind of healthy people,
Yeah.
mentally as well as physically. You
Yeah.
don't want them to be so lopsided that we spend, 12 hours at the gym every day just praising ourselves that we got guns.
Yeah.
That was a little much too. So be careful, because proximity trumps everything else.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, environment trumps all your desires. If you find yourself in an environment, I got some really good training,
Mm-hmm.
and I put people that I admired on my board of directors without them knowing they were there. I
Mm-hmm.
would look at people who were married longer than me. How are they treating each other?
Mm-hmm.
How are they always being best friends and play?
Mm-hmm.
How, after 20 years, does he always open the door for her?
Yes.
Or take her on a date every Friday night? All of the things that just make a life so exciting to be alive, and wake up and go, oh, it's that time of year. It's that
Yeah.
time of life to enjoy. And I'm appreciated every time I go out the door to slay the dragon and bring the bacon home, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole family is there because my spouse is there to tell them, here comes dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Here comes dad.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't imagine. Yeah, I'm a man,
Mm-hmm.
but I learned my favorite thing is when my kids throw their arms around me and say, I missed you,
Mm-hmm.
because they have no clue how much I miss them until I'm able to say it back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And to be real and honest, one of the biggest single things I learned early with my children
Yeah.
is that because I was gone a lot more in their life than my wife, they thought I might be perfect because I'd come home and we'd have Disneyland every weekend, basically, okay, because I wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
And that's not real. So you've got to build each other for each other. You've got to, how I live is going to be how my children are going to treat my spouse. Realize my example gives them a role model. And without it, but I would choose people who had great success at the things I wanted to accomplish. And then I would also find books and read them and see what Abraham Lincoln, what were some of his very positive attributes? What did Mother Teresa do that made her so outstanding, that changed a whole nation? What did Washington, how did he become such a man of not just faith, but of servant leader? He didn't ask anybody to do something he wasn't willing to do and put himself on the front line. And yet he was the commander. And his greatness, I don't know if you know this about him, but all of his generals were promised from the legislature that they would be paid if they could win this war. And so it kept them in the war. They didn't have a lot of money to get paid then. And so when they won the war and came back and said, okay, we need our pay, the legislature says, we don't have to pay you now because, they rebelled. I don't know. Most people don't know this about the United States. His army wanted him to be the king. They actually asked him to be king, and they would do away with this, 13 little colonies and whatever they were going to build. You just be the king because you made us free. We're no longer under tyranny of England. And we even have a plan how to put you in that position and make it so. And he said, thank you, but no. And then they said, well, then we're just going to go lynch all of those Congress people that promised the money that aren't paying us. And he says, before you do that, because they were going to mutiny literally the government people, because they hadn't kept their promises and sold some of their property to have the money to give to these guys who sacrificed so much. He said, I need to have you all together at one time and let me read a document that I've written about this.
Okay.
And as he stands there, he pulls the document out and he says, this war has cost me a little more than I was hoping. Not just of my time and my money and my property, but so many friends. But then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pair of glasses and puts them on. He says, I no longer can read this paper without these. And the men literally wept. And he says, I have one request. This nation needs to be a nation of forgiveness and love. And this document that he read had these generals and the men in charge of the general body of people. Okay, we'll listen to the darn senators one more time and give them another chance, which then, of course, the greatness of this nation was born.
Wow, that's such a powerful nugget.
Oh, very much. But when you go back and read these stories of these great men, whether it was Abraham Lincoln and what he was able to do to keep a nation, one nation under God, was unreal. I mean, all of the sacrifices that these people have made. There's a guy by the name of Andy Andrews, and if I could recommend a book, it's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews.
I heard of that book, The Traveler's Gift. Okay.
Traveler's Gift, yes. Andy Andrews, he teaches 7 principles. And the number one principle is one that I was taught by my own mom.
Yeah.
But it's, take responsibility. The principle actually is the buck stops here. It simply means I take responsibility for my past, my present, my future. I don't play the blame game, and that way I never become a victim. Yep. It gave me some lemons, and I know how to make delicious lemonade. And you just turn it into that. Okay. Oh, isn't that interesting? This COVID thing put me in the hospital. Isn't that interesting? Why me instead of why not me? I'm more strong and I have a good immune system. I could probably fight it better than if it was my brother. And so I'm okay. I'll get through this. And those sort of things just make a whole lot of difference to whatever does. This is the bottom line. In my humble but most accurate opinion. That's my humbleness coming out. Life doesn't happen to us. Life happens for us. And I've had a chance to talk to large groups. Teaching is in my blood because I love, especially youth. There's as many as 300 youth each year that I get to go spend a week with.
Wow.
And then the training and the talking to them, I often start with do bad things ever happen to good people? And of course, most of them say, well, yeah. And I say, no. Listen carefully to my wording. Do very bad things, awful, horrific things happen to really good, wonderful people. And now they start questioning, maybe they don't. And finally, they come to the conclusion, well, of course, the same wind blows on everybody, the bad, the good, and the in-between. And then I follow up with this question, is that because our Creator hates us? And they'll go, well, no, he doesn't hate us. I said, I'm glad you know that. He already knows the end of the story. He already knows us because we're his kids. And the only one that doesn't know is us. So we go through this for a purpose, to find out about us.
Yes.
And what am I supposed to learn going through this, quote, stumbling block or stepping stone? Where can I get to if I, don't ask for less challenges, ask for more solutions.
Yeah.
What in me could help somebody, especially myself? Because I believe, and this is an interesting thought too, I believe that experience is the best teacher, especially if it's someone else's experience.
Yeah, I am so for that.
And you can get a lot of people's experiences because books are written about them.
Yes.
And they wrote them themselves. And when you read their words and find out, they took responsibilities for their lives.
Yeah.
When you look at Gandhi, when you look at, oh golly, I could just name on and on and on. It was the hardship that let them discover what was inside of them that made them unique and different.
Yep. I always say there is a hidden treasure. It's so hard though when you're actually going through it. I guess the number one thing is to really, when you're in that phase, to become your own best friend. I realize for many, many years, fighting a situation that you have no control over only drags the pain even longer, but you have to become one within that problem. So I remember when I lost my sister, because she passed away from depression, and asking myself, we go through a self-pity mode, like, why me? And then the taking responsibility, when you said that, is such a powerful one, because that is the motto I go by as well. It's why not me? What makes me? Why would it not be me? It could be somebody else. It could happen to me. And so many people have gone through this. So instead of playing the pity game of why me and why is this happening to me, there's a reason for why this is me. And I have to remind myself, there is a gift in that hardship, although I don't know what it is right now. And maybe I don't have the strength at that moment yet to appreciate it just yet. But every day I do little baby step to try to discover what the reason is. And I can say confidently now, after 3 years of her passing, I see it as a blessing. I see it as her giving me the gift to have the courage to leave an unhealthy relationship that I would never have the strength to do, to be able to start my own company, to start trusting myself and being kinder to myself. So, in the most hardest of circumstances, and sometimes we don't want it, but there's always a lesson that brings us closer and truer to who we need to be, who we need to step out to. So, all that just to say, your story, Jim, it is quite powerful, and they really do exemplify what you need to do when you're going through these hard challenges is to remain humble, to show gratitude when you are in gratitude mode, which is not always easy to do. But when you are the student of gratitude and enjoying life and trusting, one step at a time, one stumbling block at a time is learning. I don't know how I master it, but when hardship comes, I don't go into a panic mode. Yes, I panic at the beginning, but I become one with the obstacle. And then once I've learned to accept the obstacle, then I ask much more empowering question. So what am I going to do from here onward? Instead of going into the victim mode and going, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And in life is so unfair. And so that does me no good. I can have those moments where once in a while I can come in, I sit into it for a little bit, but I don't dwell on it.
That's called personal growth and great insight. What you've just taught is so true, because everybody is going to go through that roller coaster ride. Will be high. This is where your proximity is so important. You need to find some people, a tribe, if you would, that when you're down, they're up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you a truth here, if I can.
Yeah.
Have you ever met somebody and just barely met them, and yet you see in them a genius, an incredible light and wisdom that they don't even know they have? And you recognize it, and let me tell you why. Because you also possess it. It's called frequency. Okay. We all have a frequency that we resonate at. And resonating, when one frequency hits you that you resonate with, it's because you possess that same thing. And if you've ever, I don't know if you know what singing bowls are, but you can get a singing bowl and put one clear across the room and start this one singing, and that one will take off because it resonates.
Yes.
When you're sitting in front of a person with this great genius in them, and they're all down and sad, and you see the genius, you see more in them than they see in themselves. And here's a question you have to ask yourself. What is your self-talk saying? If your self-talk is so severe on you with judging yourself, and you're not loving on yourself, would you treat your best friend with the self-talk you say to yourself? If not, then you forgot something. Because if we look at the second great commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, guess who you got to love? If you're going to go out and serve and be friendly to a neighbor, you better think really a lot of yourself and know you're a child of God, and you deserve abundance. You deserve good health. You deserve knowledge. Now, interesting about knowledge too. Knowledge, a lot of people have a great deal of book learning and knowledge, but until it's applied, it doesn't become wisdom.
Yep.
And so at some point in time, you have to get out of a comfort zone and apply what you've learned to see if it's truth. And if it does and it resonates as you do it, you see the results of your actions, then you have found good things to hang on to, and they can replace old things that didn't serve. And you can actually change your identity inside. That's what hypnotherapy is all about, is going down to those identity cards that some people make when they're 5 years old, and have them go back and revisit it now at 30 years old and see, oh, well, I could see why I'm afraid of dogs, because that dog bit me when I was 5, and now I'm fearful every dog out there is after me. And that's what a 5-year-old would think. And I know better than that. And so I guess I will reach out tenderly and see if the next dog doesn't bite me and get over it. It's just reframing, and it's just going after your identity cards. And it's so powerful to analyze what things don't serve me and what things do.
Yeah.
For me in my life, to be in the health and wellness industry for almost 5 decades was because of my own journey and my ups and downs. And my mom helped me navigate that front end. And it got me interested in enough. And I don't know if we're running out of time, but I was going to speak to you about the miracle of the body and its ability to.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Well, first of all,
yeah,
I'll teach you 3 or 4 principles real quick that I taught all my students all my life. 1, you are what you eat, what you drink, and what you breathe. Everything that comes in through your nose and mouth gets turned through this chemical factory we are into some process that we end up wearing, becoming us. Okay. So be careful of those 3 things. And they're all influenced by what we think. You have approximately 37 trillion cells.
Okay.
That's a big number. And your body is capable of reproducing up to 1 billion new cells per minute.
Okay, wow.
Under the right circumstances, replacing old, broken, and deadly cells with new, fresh, and healthy cells. To build 1 cell, it takes 1 quadrillion pieces. A quadrillion pieces. Now, this is why I call it the miracle of the body, because what I'm about to share with you, I sat at the feet for 10 years being the CEO of an international nutritional company, and my biochemist friend became one of my favorite people on the board because he knew so many things about the body that I just absorbed. And this is one of them.
Yeah.
Those numbers I just gave you are so big, most of us don't comprehend what 1 billion new cells a minute. We have 37 trillion cells. It takes a quadrillion pieces to make just 1 healthy cell. What does all that mean? So I'm going to translate it. I'm going to put it into a relationship of something we can associate with time.
Yeah.
Let's start with a simple number like 1 million. To count to 1 million by ones, 1 per second, 1001, 1002, 1003, it would take approximately 12 days.
Okay.
In other words, there are 1 million seconds in 12 days. But to count the new cells that have just generated in you in the last minute, 1 billion, it would take me 33 years to count to 1 billion. And we have 37 trillion cells. To count just 1 trillion by ones would take 29,700 years if you counted by ones. And here's the bottom line. This is one to give you goosebumps about how incredible the creation is that you're sitting in. To create 1 healthy, vibrant cell takes 1 quadrillion pieces. And to count each of those pieces, it would take a person, if they started counting right now, 30,800,000 years to count the individual pieces.
Wow.
30,800,000 years to count those individual pieces that come together and form the mitochondria, that form, which are the batteries, the DNA, the nucleus, the whole process of this incredible cell. So we're no accident. I'm just telling you, we're not an accident. So if we're changing out 1 billion new cells per minute, what we ate yesterday, we're wearing today.
Yeah.
It literally becomes, because what takes 30,800,000 years to count has to come from something. That's the raw material. That's the building blocks. It comes from what we eat, drink, and breathe, or put on our skin. And so if we eat healthy foods that contain all the nutrients and the building blocks, we're going to be building strong, healthy bodies, organs, glands, brains, and you name it. And we get to live to 97 and go out like a light bulb, or we're going to have what everybody else, unfortunately, is starting to find is you're going declining way too fast, because the body is capable, yes, science has proven, to live up to 120 years.
Okay.
And yet the average death age is in the 70s. Women 77, men 75. And this is crazy. Because we have more effect if we choose to fuel our body with nutrient food, dense nutrient food.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, in my research, a year ago, I ran into a set of things that just blew my mind because I didn't think it would exist in my lifetime. There is a regenerative system built into our bodies, a reset, if you will, that if you activate it, and you can, it's like finding your own fountain of youth that goes after old, decrepit, non-working, or harmful cells, reboots that whole system and replaces it with healthy, strong. So you've got a strong immune system, you've got a strong skeletal system, you've got a strong nervous system, you name it, it is possible to do at 74. And it's something that most people don't like to do, especially I couldn't do until these people actually won a Nobel Prize recently. The discovery of this. And it's something all your readers would like to know more about. I'm sure it's called autophagy. A-U-T-O-P-H-A-G-Y. Autophagy. Autophagy. And it's the reset button, but it's accomplished through intermittent fasting. And several other nice things go along with that. But especially in the blood sugar issues with what I've studied, I am even giving my younger siblings a chance to reverse that and have the doctors faint when they no longer need all those meds.
Wow.
Literally, over the last year, I've been able to see those kinds of results. Every time somebody trusts me enough to say, okay, I'll try what you're suggesting, because it's, it's just eating. It's just changing some core habits.
You gave me goosebumps, Jim, because I was like, changing diets and all these things, what you eat. I'm like, what's the point of even trying? We're so confused as to what we're supposed to be eating. One time it's good, the next time it's no good. But after what you said today, it makes me realize, and I think of Bruce Lee when he's one of my idol too, and he said something along the line of what you said before as well. But he does say that our body is our temple. So if we don't take care of our temple, then how can you ask it to last and preserve? And in the face of adversity, he says, not ask, I don't remember words by word because I'm not good at quoting stuff like
Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing, but I do remember the gist of the meaning. And he does say that it's during the hard time, the challenges is not asking for the ability to be stronger, but it's asking to have the courage to be able to prevail over the situation, the circumstances. So it's really when you're going through that, it's having that courage to do the thing that is so hard, and finding that strength within yourself so that you can keep moving along. But coming back with regards to health-wise, I am so glad you shared, because we are a miracle. Our body, who we are, how we come to exist, there's no one like us.
No. And the body has the ability to self-heal. Most people who go to the gym, particularly those who are bodybuilders, will recognize that you have to break some things down to get them to become stronger. But I can give you a better example that most anybody would know, and that is if you've broken a bone. Let's say you broke your forearm and they put it in a cast for 6 weeks. Now, when it comes out of the cast, it's all shrunk because, the muscles haven't been used for 6 weeks. But here is something that's phenomenal. Let's say you broke your forearm right here in the center. And if you were to fall again, it would break anywhere along there again, but not on the original break. Why?
Why?
Because the body made that original break twice as strong as any other part of the body. It knitted it back together, and then it reinforced it above what it was before it got broken. Same thing with muscles. When they say no strength, no pain, no gain, it's because you're breaking muscles and they're repairing themselves bigger and stronger than they were before you broke them.
Oh my God.
That's crazy to say that, but that's what happens with the physical body. And this rebooting system of rebooting all the glands, all the organs, all of the old and decrepit and things that don't work are nothing short of, like I say, it's a miniature fountain of youth that you can wake up inside of you. But intermittent fasting is not something that people are excited about, because fasting means going without one of my favorite things called food. And somebody's found a way to actually fuel the body during a 24-hour or up to a 48-hour. And now I can go 60 hours. And prior to finding this little formulation, I couldn't even go, when I was awake, 12 hours. If I didn't fuel every 2 to 4 hours because of my low problem, I was in trouble. And protein became my best friend because it would last longer. But now going 48 hours is just a blink, just a walk in the park. So new technology, breakthroughs in science, all for our good if we want to apply them.
Yeah.
And I will say this, you and I and our friends and family are worth it.
Yes.
And that's what you have to decide first, that we're worth it, making a decision. I want the best out of life. It's longevity is important to me, living longer. But what's more important to me is the quality of my life. I know people now that have so little quality, life is not sweet. And to me, it's the opposite.
But you've accomplished so much. And I want to be able to showcase your beautiful grandchildren as well, because we're coming close to that hour. And I want
you to invite them in.
Yes, I want you to invite them in to showcase them.
I'll get them. Hang on. Hey, Quest, Justice, come and meet some friends of mine. Please, they've got 1 minute left. Can they come in right now for just a moment?
No. And it's UPS anyway.
I need the two little kids for 1 moment.
You're our boys.
Our boys.
Justice, Grandpa wants you to come in request.
She thought I meant the neighbor's kids. Sorry. So my wife and I got to tell you this cute thing.
Yes.
My daughter and my son-in-law were in their pickup driving down a country lane. And suddenly my son-in-law says, "Oh, what a gorgeous pheasant." And my daughter says, "Oh, honey, I hate to tell you this, but it's not a pheasant, it's a chicken." And he says, "No, I know a pheasant when I see him because I go hunting for them occasionally." And she says, "Well, I've cleaned enough chickens to know that it's chickens, but I want you to listen and say hi."
Hello.
Hi.
You're so handsome.
What's your name?
My name is Quest.
Quest 2.
Wow.
Quest Beckham.
Quest Beckham. How old are you, Quest?
5.
You're pretty darn old. Can you spell music?
MUSIC.
Wow. Good
Can you
job.
spell off?
OOFOO.
You got all the letters, but the different way. I love you, Quest. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Where's your
coming.
big brother?
We're making a school bus.
Oh, you're making a school bus. Come up here and say hi. This is my friend. Oh,
Hi.
come here. Put this in your ear and you can hear her.
Hello.
Hi.
How are
This is-
you?
This is Justice.
Hi, Justice. My God, it looks like the looks runs in this family. Eh?
Well, they are not only handsome, they're smart.
I see that.
And they're not spoiled by grandpa, hardly at all.
It's nice meeting you, Justice.
Thank you.
What do you say? Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Okay, you can
Oh,
go back.
have a good day to you
Go
too.
play with grandma. I'll be in a minute.
Oh, they are so adorable. Oh my God.
Thank you. Yeah, they are. They make life sweet.
They really do.
Anyway, I guess
I want you to have the last word.
you want me to say a closing
Yes.
thought? Okay.
Yes.
Life is worth living.
Mm.
Even if you find yourself in hell, just don't stop. Why would you stop in hell? Get right on through it. Find out what you were supposed to find and change it.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, I'm stuck. I can't change. And I say, why? Are you a tree? You can get up and move. You can make a new decision, and that's all it takes. Reach out to somebody that you admire. Ask them for some advice. Ask them to be your mentor. You know, I am never more honored than when somebody, one of my peers, says, "Hey, would you mind mentoring me in this area?" I go, "Wow, well, thank you for thinking that I have that quality, and I'd be glad to be your mentor." And by the way, a mentor only needs to be one page ahead of the student.
That's
just
right.
one page.
Just one page.
And it's one page at a day, one day at a time. And gosh, there are so many wonderful things like your podcast, for instance, that can lift people, because you're what we've been today, and what I've been trying to be even extra, is real and raw.
Yes.
And very transparent by sharing some things that normally I wouldn't share.
Oh, thank you. I feel so privileged because you actually just exemplify what a kind, humble, raw human being should look like. And that's the beauty of it all. It's not that we are a creation of perfection. It's in our imperfection that the mortal envies the immortal. The immortal envied the mortal. So thank you for taking all that time to pass on all these privileged knowledge and wisdom. And what a beautiful way to end it, because I have a feeling, and I'm a big intuitive person. So I listen a lot to my intuition. I get a feeling that this episode is really going to make a huge impact in people's life, and ending it with not giving up and keep going. I think there's so many people are going through a hard time that really needs to hear this. So Jim, thank you so much for all your time. You are my mentor. We're definitely going to be in contact, and I'm just privileged to be a part of your life and to see your grandkids and your wife, and just, I am going to be modeling and trying. You are part of the people who you surround yourself with. I'm just fascinated by how you are able to achieve all that and still loving life and keep going every single day. So thank you for being such an amazing example for all of us.
Remember what I said, when you see that greatness in others, it's because you own it yourself. And it's been my privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. Have a great day.
Love and blessings to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jim.